Hey guys, it's Julia from Z Square Crafts. Thank you so much for tuning into this YouTube video. Today I'm creating a card for the Alleyway Stamps, and to begin my card I'm going to use the Penguin on Parade stamp set. I'm using the penguin that comes in the set, as well as the little earmuff or headphone accessory. I think originally it was intended to be headphones, but for my card today I'm going to pretend that they're earmuffs and I'm going to stick to it. While I'm stamping out my main image here, I'm also going to stamp it onto a post-it note so that I can cut that out and fussy cut it later. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink to stamp onto this oval shape. I cut this oval on my Silhouette portrait machine, and to create the shape I just used the circle drawing tool that comes with the Silhouette Studio program. The reason I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink is so that I can use my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers, and you'll see that in just a minute. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut out my mask so that it's ready to use later. To color in my penguin, I'm going to start with a little bit of orange on his belly. If you look at reference pictures of penguins, which I typically do before I start to color, you'll notice that sometimes they have a little bit of yellow or orange on their belly. So I didn't want that to be the main focal area, so I just did a little bit, and I will cover the whole thing with a gray in a minute just to kind of mute it out. But I did lay down that color first to make sure that I didn't leave it out. Next, I went in with my darkest gray. Today I'm using warm gray markers, which is typically my color of choice for critters or anything that's alive. I rather the warm grays over the cool grays, just because they have a little bit more of a brown undertone, and I find that's a little bit more lifelike. I blended out that dark area with a less dark marker, and then I'm going over everything with my mid-tone, including the belly area, like I said, to mute that out before I go in with my lightest warm gray marker and blend everything out together. I love how the warm gray markers blend with the Spectrum Noir markers. I've always been very happy with the results. I didn't want to forget a little rosy cheek for my little penguin friend here, so I went back and added that before I blended everything out. To color in the little flippers, I thought that they would probably be just a little bit lighter than the rest of the body because it sort of looks like they're facing upwards. So I'm going to start by laying down the BG1, which is my lightest color, and then going in with just one other tone, BG4, which was my second to darkest when I colored the body, and then I'll just blend that all out with my BG1, the lightest color. For my little beak and feet, I'm using OR2. I didn't even bother adding a second color because it's such a teeny tiny little area. For my little earmuffs, I wanted those to be red because they're going to match some pattern paper that I'm going to bring in a minute. So I'm starting with CR8 and I'm just laying that down. I'm trying to be fairly careful not to be too heavy-handed because I do find that the reds run a little bit or can bleed outside the lines. I also decided that I did need to add a little bit of shading for some more dimension, so I grabbed DR5, which is a darker color. Next, I'm going to apply my handy dandy little post-it mask there so that I can stamp a background onto this oval panel. I'm using the Alleyway Stamps Winter Butterfly stamp set. This is a small stamp set with all kinds of different snowflakes. I absolutely love this one, and I can't wait to use it a little bit more throughout the winter. I am again taking inspiration from the pattern paper that I'll pull in a minute, but I definitely wanted to make this a wintry holiday card. So I'm using some pearly embossing powder to add a little sparkle and shine to this panel. I'm stamping using Versamark ink, which is a clear, sticky ink, just perfect for heat embossing because it really grabs the embossing powder and it sticks really nicely. Once I'm happy with all of my snowflakes, I'll go ahead and remove that mask before I heat set it, just to make sure that there's no embossing powder underneath where the mask was. Now that I'm happy with my main focal panel, I'm going to go ahead and work on the rest of the card. Like I said, I'm using some pattern paper as inspiration for this card. That's the pattern paper there. It's a red snowflake paper. And I'm going to use a stitch scallop die to create a festive or decorative edge to the bottom of this panel. I'm using plenty of post-it tape to make sure that that die doesn't shift while I run it through my Cuttle Bug. And then I will go ahead and just make sure that everything is lining up how I imagined it would. Next, to add a few details, I'm going to start with a piece of red ribbon. This red ribbon actually came off of a gift set of pajamas that I bought for my nephew, and I stole the ribbon from them so that I could repurpose it for crafting, which I love to do. And I started by using my permanent tape runner just to adhere it down to the front to make sure it doesn't shift. And then I also used some Scotch tape at the back just to double check to make sure everything is stuck down and that, again, it just doesn't move once everything is assembled. I'm going to follow the exact same process with this piece of sparkly white ribbon. I really love this stuff. Again, I think it's perfect for holiday and winter cards, so I was glad to pull that out. For my greeting, I'm going to use yet another Alleyway Stamps set. It's called Mistletoe Kisses. You've seen me use it quite a bit this holiday season. I'm using it for the greeting, which says Season's Greetings, and I'm stamping that using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, which is the same ink as before, right onto that pattern paper. For my little focal panel, this oval panel, I'm going to pop that up just a little bit using some clear foam squares. I do get quite a few questions where I get those clear foam squares, and here in Canada I find those at the dollar store. They're a pretty good find and they are acid free, so they're also safe for scrapbooking. I adhered my focal panel down onto the card base, which is an A2 size card, using some foam tape, and then to add just a final finishing touch, I colored those earmuffs with some Wink of Stella. That finishes the card for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to this fun holiday card. I will be back again in a few days to share another card, and in the meantime, take care. Bye!